So the question of today is, what have we actually learned with the complexities in the human cell? How do we know how that relates to creation, evolution, all of these kind of crazy ideas? So let's get right into it. If we could actually demonstrate that the complex organ, I'm going to start the whole thing over again. With the complexity of the human cell, have we learned anything for how this relates to creationism versus evolution, all of these kind of major questions? So listen to this. If it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not have possibly been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down. Who said this? Charles Darwin. So in Darwin's day, a cell were thought of as very simple. It does appear that they had discovered that they did have parts and that they reproduced. An interesting part of the cell reproduction is that all living cells must come from other living cells. They cannot come from non-living cells. Darwin said in The Origin of Species, if it could be demonstrated that any complex organ existed which could not possibly have been formed by numerous successive slight modifications, my theory would absolutely break down. We are talking about a thought process called irreducible complexity, a concept where something cannot be made any simpler and still function. For example, here we have the mousetrap. The mousetrap has 5 parts that are all needed to be fully working for it to do its job. It needs to have a base, it needs to have a spring, a hammer, a catch, and a holding bar. With 5 parts to the mousetrap, what if I took out one of the parts? One of the parts had not fully developed yet. Would I catch 1/5 of the mice? Of course not. You would catch 0 mice. The parts of the mousetrap could not have slowly evolved over millions of years because it would not have caught any mice for millions of years, and thus it would not have continued to exist or continue to improve itself. Let me say this slightly differently. How many years would it take life to be around if reproduction was still slowly over millions of years evolving into a system that worked? So basically, you only had one cell. How long does one cell last? Not very long. If it didn't have the reproduction process in place that it could do successfully, it would never have reproduced into that next cell. Life would have stopped immediately. Back to the cell, there are 14 major complex parts or systems in every single cell that we know of, at least right now. And they're all needed for the cell to function. You have the nucleus, or the control center of the cell, the DNA, the cilia, the lysosome, the centroids, the microtubules, the Golgi apparatus, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, the mitochondria, the rough endoplasmic reticulum, the cytoplasm, the chromatin, the ribosomes, and the nuclear membrane. So sorry if I pronounced any of that wrong. 14 systems that all need to be 100% functional for the cell to live. All of them have to be working together. This took a creator not millions of years of random, simple changes with no force behind it for this to happen. So either you have two choices. Either nothing created this complex system that had to all intricate parts. We haven't even touched base on information. How could information get more evolved? If you you had Microsoft Word on your computer, and it's been known to happen with computer programs that a little bug will get into it. A little change will happen. Has that change ever been something positive? No, it never is. It's always negative. Information doesn't just become more complex. It breaks down. So either nothing created everything or something created everything. Which makes more sense? Which can actually be repeated in a lab? Which would we say is scientific reasoning and which would we say is pure 100% faith? Surprisingly, the evolutionary standpoint would have to be considered complete faith because it has such lack of evidence, lack of repeatability, whereas intelligent design or a creator has repeatable, testable evidence that that is definitely the way we came to be. I want to encourage you, keep watching. I have a bunch of other videos here on different ideas for science and all these kind of things, how it relates to the Bible, and then teaching of the Bible itself. Also doing some devotion work, so encourage you, check out the channel, see what else is going on. Have a great day.